Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Hope Ifadi, and you're welcome to another sizzling topic this evening. Today, we'll be discussing about the role of rural people in community development. Every one of us comes from a community. Of course, we all know what a community it's all about. Every one of us has a community we belong to. Community is just a set of people that have a common goal, or they have something in common. It ranges from people that belong to the same ethnic group staying in the same place. So when you come to, for a country like Nigeria, there's a lot of rural people in different communities. Nigeria is made up of 36 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, and each of these states have their own rural people in different communities. So today we're going to be exploring how does this rural people contribute to the economic development of the states, of the local governments where they are located, of the country at large. So like my definition when I started, I said a community is a set of people that have a common goal, they have a common objective, they stay in the same locality. But again, in the rural communities, one of the peculiar things we notice in rural communities are one of the thriving occupation you see in the rural areas are agriculture. And as we know, agriculture equally contributes its own quota to the GDP of the country, of the economy, and vice versa. So of course, when the rural people are duly equipped, duly trained, or of course duly sensitized or enlightened, they can contribute meaningfully a lot to the community development. I'll be citing a lot of examples because today I want to do more of examples, the practical things we see, we witness, and I'll equally compare it to when I traveled out, what I saw when I traveled out. In Nigeria, for instance, where I come from Delta. One of our major occupations there is farming and fishing. You get to see a lot of people in the rural areas. They are into farming, they are into fishing. They do a lot of other menial jobs like carpentry, tailoring. There's quite a lot of things they equally do to sustain, to a source of income, and of course to sustain their livelihood. But when you look at the trend of what is going on in Nigeria, you find out that some of the challenges those in rural areas are having is negligence of government focus in the rural areas. Because you agree with me that when you look at the rural communities, a lot of rural communities don't have the social amenities that is needed to improve their well-being. And of course, when these social amenities are provided, it can equally enhance their productivity and of course lead to community development. I will be citing a lot of examples. Let us start. Number one, lack of good roads. When you look at our rural communities, it is filled up with roads. Most roads are not motorable. You can't fly on such roads. There is no feeder roads. There is no accessible roads, even from their houses to their farms. So, like I said, most of these rural people are into agriculture. And when they don't have these accessible roads to their farms, they don't have a means of bringing out this food they have equally cultivated, bringing it to the market. That is where you see the activities of these middlemen that jump in and equally helps in hiking inflation of food or food prices. Because These farmers are in the rural areas, and because there is no accessible road, they cannot bring their produce to the farm, to the market. So these middlemen, what they do is they will go there, buy up this product, farm produce, then they will now put in their own price and now come and start selling. So you see that the prices of food keeps on going up instead of coming down. So in that way, when you talk about food security, it's not sustainable, it cannot be achieved, because one of the social amenities, of the basic amenities of people in the rural areas, which is good roads, is lacking. And in this way, these people cannot be able to commute their agricultural produce to the farm and of course sell, because when they commute their agricultural produce to the farm, to the market, they sell, it becomes a source of livelihood to them. They make income, people buy. Equally leads to community development, because a lot of this agricultural produce can equally be exported. If they are produced in a very large quantity, it can be exported, and the money that have been accrued from these sales or this exportation can equally lead to community development. Of course, in the rural areas, there is lack of hospitals, good hospitals. You find that most people in the rural areas they lack the access to good health facility and health care. So most people, the doctors that are being sent there are not even doctors. They might just be practicing student doctors. So these people don't have access to qualified personnel that will attend to them when they are sick. And what does this imply? It implies that there will be increased mortality, and when there is increased mortality of these rural people, they are dying, their numbers in their villages. Of course, it has an impact in lowering the manpower of the community, and in that way the community development is equally lowered. But when the infrastructure for healthcare facilities are put in place, they have access to these healthcare facilities, they are being treated, they are being diagnosed, and of course they get the good health system, they will be able to thrive, you understand, and they will be able to produce, and there will be increased manpower. Again, another issue that we have is security. Because there's a lot of insecurity in the country, farmers are scared of going to farms to farm. They are scared of going to the rivers to fish. And what does it do? There will be reduced development in the community. There's no source of livelihood. Again, when there is no schools, no good schools in these rural communities, the level of illiteracy is higher, because these children, these youths, cannot access quality education. In that way, the level of illiteracy is on the very high side. So, what are the solutions to some of these problems that will equally help the rural area to contribute meaningfully to community development? There is urgent need for the government to pay serious attention to these rural people by a lot of things they can do, empowering them. First of all, you start by enlightening them. Let them know their role, what they can do, what they are supposed to do that will aid in community development. And the government needs to do their part, because when people are enlightened, they know their rights. They are able to stand up to their rights. Because if they don't know what they are supposed to do, some policies of government will elude them, and they cannot contribute meaningfully to any community development. So the government, both at the federal level, the state level, the local government level, should pay more attention to these people and be able to provide for them all these social amenities, ranging from good roads, security, good water supply. Even the good water supply, when there's lack of good source of water, it has led to a lot of waterborne diseases, which these people suffer, and of course they die. So when these good water facilities are provided for them, they have electricity. When they have electricity, they can engage entrepreneurial skills. All these medium skill acquisition programs, they can do hair barbing, tailoring, and every other entrepreneurial skill that requires electricity to strive. And when they do this thing, it becomes a source of livelihood for them, a source of income, and in that way they can equally contribute their own quota to community development. And of course, it's equally good that they provide other amenities like good roads, good health facilities, schools for children, because in this way, when there are schools for children, for the youth to attend, they build the literacy level to be higher. And of course, we know that the youths are a magnet for innovative ideas. When these youths are well equipped, they are able to think. They can think outside the box and develop a lot of things that can equally help in moving it can help in community development. And again, in the agricultural sector, the government can equally aid in providing technological advancement in agriculture, so that the food that is being produced in these rural communities will be enough, and it can equally aid them to have a source of livelihood and equally aid in community development. Then security is equally very key, because in Nigeria we have a very big issue with security. So government should pay attention to the security of these rural people, so that in that way, if they are secured, a lot of things can come out of there, which will equally aid in the GDP of the country. And again, when all these things are being put together, you will see that the level of migration to the urban cities, because one of the reasons why people migrate from the rural area to the urban city is because of search of greener pastures. But when these social amenities are put in place and there is economic development, there's community development in the rural areas, you see that the number of people that are trooping in from the rural areas to the urban areas are highly lowered. Because, for example, when I was in London, I went to East London. You realize that people that stay in the city of London are less compared to people that stay in their suburbs, because the suburbs already have good social amenities, and these people tap from these social amenities and they're able to build their life and equally better their community. And of course, this has aided in community development. So it's very good that the government pays attention to these rural people. Again, the different leaders in the rural areas should equally stand up to their duties and their functions. In that way, they are able to bring a lot of development to the rural areas, of which these rural people can tap in, and of course it can lead to a lot of community development. It can be in way of subsidizing maybe agricultural inputs that are being used in these rural communities. For example, when you talk about fertilizers, seedlings, which these farmers need in order to do their farming. So if there is a good leader in these communities, they can equally approach the government and equally talk about the policies of government that can equally help these rural farmers to be able to produce at the optimum. So that is so many ways. And again, when you see all these things, when you round them together, you will see that the people in the rural areas are well informed, they are productive, they are able to meet and equally engage, they are equally able to contribute to of course the community development. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you had a wonderful time listening to our topic. Do have a lovely day.